Hey, I'm Lindsay Lyman. I worked almost 12 years at Amazon and saw so many brilliant and successful overachievers burn themselves out and leave their jobs because they're so stressed and anxious. But guess what? Having a successful career does not have to be at the expense of your mental sanity and personal time. There's an easier way, and I can show you how. Let's do this. Hey, y'all. Today we're talking about part 2 of 4. How do you be okay when you're not okay? Make sure that you're subscribed so that you get all 4 of these parts. You guys, this is so crucial. We're not meant to be okay all the time. But if you don't know how to be okay when you're not okay, it makes us do crazy things and makes our lives unnecessarily extra hard. Okay, today, part 2. So if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to that. Real quick recap. The first part of being okay when you're not okay is you need to notice it. What are you feeling? Where do you feel it? You want to breathe and just let it be. What are some of the tells and the signs that you're moving from okay to not okay? What are the things you're noticing? Okay. Noticing, so crucial and important. This week, we're going to dive into part 2. So here's usually what happens after you start to notice what you're feeling, what some of your tells are that you're starting to dysregulate and that you're not okay. Most of us go into some form of like shame and judgment. So let's say, for example, your team's going through another reorg and you've just noticed you're kind of freaking out and you're not okay. Here's what happens. Most of us start to judge ourselves. You know, logically it's going to work out and you just can't understand why you're so freaked out. You're like, what's the matter with me? I know it'll be fine, but I'm just so worried and anxious. Or maybe your project gets defunded and you notice that you're really annoyed and kind of ticked off. And then you start to judge yourself because everyone else seems okay with it and they've moved on and they've figured it out. What's the matter with you? Okay, we don't want to get into judgment. Here's another example. Maybe you got feedback like 6 months ago on some things you needed improved and you're still not over it. Once we've noticed we still feel stuck, your brain wants to go and judge it and tell you why you should be over it and why you should be going faster and why you're the problem. Or maybe another example is you have a manager that doesn't show up to your one-on-ones. Now that you've noticed this is kind of one of the things causing you some angst and worry, your brain's going to want to go and start telling you it's not such a big deal. Why are you so worried about it? Other people are doing just fine. But here's the thing. When we add on that layer of judgment and shame and embarrassment, we're simply making it unnecessarily more intense and not okay. So now instead of being annoyed that our project got defunded, we're annoyed that we're annoyed. Or instead of freaking out about the reorg, we're freaking out that we're freaking out. I'm like, no, you just want to notice, okay? Step 1, you want to notice. Step 2, very crucial to drop the judgment, is you want to normalize it. Why is it totally normal to feel this way? Why does it make sense that this is how you're feeling or what you're doing or what you're not doing? Okay, really important. So I want you to go through and look at those lists of things that you've noticed. Why is it normal to feel this way? Let me give you a couple examples. If you've noticed that you kind of have this hum of anxiety and just this angst because there's a reorg happening, why is it totally normal for you to feel this way? Maybe it's normal because last time this happened, you got a terrible manager. Or maybe this is normal because there's indicators that your job is going to change. Maybe it's totally normal because the last time this happened, the team floundered for 6 months. It makes sense. You have some past experience. You have some indicators that things are going to change and you're not sure. And your brain hates not knowing. Of course I'm uneasy. I don't like not knowing. And there's more questions than answers right now. It makes total sense. It's very normal, natural, healthy human response to the situation going on around you. We don't want to dehumanize ourselves, you guys. It's healthy and normal to respond these ways. We don't want to add extra layers of freak out on top of it. We just want to normalize it. Let's look at another example. Say your project got defunded. It's totally normal to be annoyed by it. That's a very natural response. Of course, you're struggling. You worked really hard and it feels like it was for a waste of time. That doesn't feel good. It makes sense that you're annoyed. Of course, you're annoyed because now you're worried leaders don't value what you're doing as much, and that doesn't feel great. Maybe you're annoyed because this happened before and you came to this team because they promised you it wouldn't happen, and it did. Makes sense. Pretty normal response to be annoyed. Why is it totally normal if you got feedback 6 months ago that was hard to hear? No one likes hearing what's wrong with them. Like, that is a healthy, normal response. Maybe you're still struggling with it because you're not sure if it's getting better and you're worried about it all the time. Makes sense if you got hard feedback and you've heard nothing since. Maybe you're feeling anxious about it because you feel like it's not something you can change. That's totally normal to freak out when you're being told to change something and you don't know how or don't feel like it's possible. Maybe you're freaking out because you're still struggling with it today and you're super self-conscious of it. It makes sense. No one likes being told what they're not good at and having it pointed out and that people continue to judge them for it. Makes sense. Very normal response. Or let's look at that last example of your manager that's not showing to their one-on-ones. Why does it make total sense that you're anxious? It makes sense that you're anxious because you're spending so much time and energy talking to everyone about it because you're worried you're the crazy one and you're the only one that thinks it's a problem. It makes sense that there's some anxiety in it, that you're struggling with it because you want the kind of a manager that shows up and is very supportive, and this person isn't that. Makes sense that you're going to have some hard feelings with it. Maybe it makes sense that you're super anxious about this because you've had this happen before and a manager tried to manage you out, or you got called out in a meeting and were totally blindsided by it. It makes sense. It makes sense that you're feeling anxious and uncertain if your manager doesn't show up to your one-on-one because you don't trust them. And not trusting someone who's supposed to help and support you is hard. It makes sense. It's very normal. No one likes to be surprised. No one likes to feel unsupported. No one likes to feel like they can't trust the person that's supposed to advocate for them at work. That's hard. Now that you've noticed what you're feeling and some of the signs are that you're starting to dysregulate, I want you to go and normalize. Why does it make total sense that you feel this way? It's important to do this so that you see you're not crazy. If you find yourself asking, is it me? Is it them? Go and normalize whatever it is you're feeling. Allow yourself to keep noticing and keep feeling for as long as you need to. We are not in a rush to quote unquote get over it. If you find yourself in a rush, you're not going to solve the root cause of the issue, and it will just continue to come back over and over and over again. You're going to go put a Band-Aid fix on it, and then you're going to move to that next job or that next team, and something similar is going to happen. You're going to be right back where you are. It's okay. We just want to notice and we want to normalize it. There's nothing wrong with feeling whatever it is you're feeling. The better you get at learning how to feel not okay, the less we try to avoid feeling not okay. And setting things like healthy boundaries or saying no or asking for a raise or pushing to get the promotion you know you deserve or applying for that job. Those sort of things, they take guts. They take a willingness to not be okay. When we know how to be okay when we're not okay, we're not going to spiral and add more onto it. We're just going to allow ourselves to not be okay for as long as we need to and as often as we need to. Again, this is homework for life. When I hear people come to me and talk about they want work-life balance, what that means is you're working some, you're having life some, it's stressful and hard some, and it's fun and relaxing some. Work-life balance and feeling like things are working out doesn't mean it's amazing and wonderful and peace and calm and vacations and no stress all the time. It's not how it works. You got to learn how to be okay when you're not okay. So step 1, go and notice it. Step 2, normalize. All right, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast so you can hear steps 3 and 4 to keep learning how to be okay when you're not okay. You got this. We'll talk soon. If what you're learning from this podcast is helping, this is just the beginning. Each week, I offer a limited number of coffee chats so that you and I can connect one-on-one and talk specifically about what's going on for you. You'll leave this call feeling more hopeful and motivated, but I'm also going to teach you a few things to try right away to get unstuck. Space is very limited and these are free, so grab your spot before they're gone. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and sign up today. You got this.